The Bondi 9 and the Gaviota 6 are two of the most popular shoes in the Hoka range. They look very similar, however there's 6 key differences between them that you need to know before you decide which one to pick up. First of all, if we look at the midsole, in the Bondi we've got 43 mils of cushion in the rear foot, 38 in the forefoot, giving you a 5 mil difference in height from the back to the front of the shoe. We've got a 6 mil difference in the Gaviota, but less cushioning overall. So we've got 39 mils in the rear foot and 33 in the forefoot. So a lot less cushioning in the forefoot, and that has an influence on what you feel when you go to push off, but also in terms of the softness underneath your foot. And another reason for that is the type of cushioning. So we've supercritical foam in the Bondi 9, which was a change from what we saw in the Bondi 8. That meant that it's a relatively soft cushioning, so when you initiate contact with the ground, especially on the heel, you sink into the shoe a little bit. It gives you that kind of pillow-like feel, and then transitions really nicely from the back to the front of the shoe, thanks to that nice meta rocker that we associate with Hoka. Then in the Gaviota, it has the classic CMEVA cushioning, and it's a little bit firmer in this model compared to the Gaviota 5. Now those of you who've worn the Gaviota 5 may have liked the really sinking in feeling that you got, very similar to what we see in the Bondi 9. Very different in the Gaviota 6. And part of that reason is the H-frame that's built into it. So the H-frame stability system runs either side of the midsole and across the middle. It provides torsional stability and focuses on keeping your foot centered in the shoe as you move. It's complemented by large sidewalls on the outside and inside of the shoe and some sole flare. So this is a modern form of stability. Rather than having intrusive arch support, it really focuses on keeping you centered in the shoe from when you initiate contact with the ground right up until you push off. In contrast to that, in the Bondi 9, you've got a really wide platform underneath that increases the amount of contact that you have with the ground. It has big sidewalls on the outside and inside of the heel as well, and a little bit more sole flare in the forefoot. So the Bondi 9 is more of a classic neutral shoe, whereas the Gaviota 6 is more of a stability shoe. Now on top of the shoe, they're very different as well. So in the Bondi 9, we actually have a relatively normal fit in the toe box, which is actually quite rare for a Hoka shoe, because normally they're quite narrow fit and taper too early in our opinion. And then in the midfoot we have a snug lockdown, and on the heel we've got plenty of coverage, plenty of lockdown, and we've got a nice groove here, so if you have any issues with Haglins, people tend to respond quite well to this, as well as any sensitivity on the back of the heel. Whereas in the Gaviota 6, well, they've booked a trend here because they have a really wide toe box in the Gaviota series from the Gaviota 5 and the Gaviota 6. So these are the only true wide shoes in the Hoka range. So you've got lots of space for your toes to splay, but still a snug fit on the midfoot and the heel. So neither of these shoes are ideal if you've got a really high arched foot, because you might just find the volume is a little bit too low in the midfoot. So when it comes to use cases, well, if you're someone who walks a lot, they're going to do an excellent job at providing all-day comfort for standing and walking. So those of you who use it for their jobs, this is why they're one of the most popular shoes on the market. If you've got a broader foot, you might prefer the Gaviota. If you need a little bit more stability, you might prefer the Gaviota as well. If you just want all-day comfort, it's really hard to beat the Bondi 9. Now when it comes to use cases for running, well, they're slightly different. You've got a firmer feel in the Gaviota 6 and a little bit less cushioning. It's slightly lighter as well, coming in at 283 grams versus 297 grams in a size 9 men's US. So you have firmer cushioning, a little bit more snap to it, a relatively rigid system so your foot doesn't feel like it's moving from side to side. In the Bondi 9, this is like your classic recovery shoe. So if you wanted to do longer distance running at an easy pace, if you wanted to do a recovery session, well then you're going to get all the comfort that you need in the Bondi 9. Probably not a shoe that I'd recommend for ultra long distance like marathon running. It's just a little bit too heavy for that. But if you wanted something for easy 10 to 15k runs, or you're new to running and you're doing a 0 to 5k, this is an excellent starting point before you might move into something lighter or faster. Now the Gaviota can cover them ranges as well. You're just getting a lot more stability in the shoe. Then when it comes to medical cases, well, the Gaviota 6 is a shoe that we prefer for people who need more pronation control. Perhaps if you have a flatter foot that needs an extra little bit of support, this can work well. Both of them work well for conditions like plantar fasciitis because you've got lots of cushioning and protection underneath the heel. And in the ball of the foot, you've got an extremely stiff and wide shoe in the Gaviota 6, so it's going to work better for issues around the big toe joint and Morton's neuroma. Now the Bondi 9 is stiff as well, but you can see it's a little bit more flex in there compared to the Gaviota 6, so it still works well for big toe joint issues. However, Morton's neuroma, less ideal because you just don't have as much space in that toe box. However, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, we've got links to them in the description if you want to check out the latest prices. And if you're new to the channel or you watch regularly but you haven't subscribed, please do, as a single thing that you can do for free that makes the biggest difference to the channel.